The mid-morning rush had faded into a gentle lull. The clinking of cutlery was subdued, drowned out by soft jazz and quiet conversations. Kenya, a 23-year-old waitress with tired eyes and a warm smile, moved gracefully between tables, balancing plates with the elegance of someone who had done this 1,000 times. Her black curls were tied back in a ponytail, and her chocolate skin glowed under the warm lights. Beneath her calm demeanor was a world of burdens. Her mother was ailing, hospital bills mounting, and her scholarship barely covered tuition at the top university where she studied pediatric medicine. The bell above the restaurant door jingled. In walked a man in a crisp navy suit, his face sharp, his presence commanding. He held the tiny hand of a boy no older than 5. The boy had large, expressive eyes that looked too sad for someone so small. Kenya was wiping down a table when they entered, and she instinctively offered a warm smile. "Table for 2?" The man nodded. "Yes, please." She guided them to a quiet corner and handed them menus. "Let me know if you need anything." Minutes later, she returned to take their order. "Just something simple for him," the man said, his voice low, strained. "He hasn't eaten much lately. Maybe soup and rice?" Kenya jotted the order and headed back. She'd seen exhausted parents before, but something about this man's eyes struck her. He looked powerful, but completely lost. The food arrived quickly. Kenya set the bowl of warm chicken soup and a small plate of rice in front of the boy. "There you go, sweetheart," she said softly. The boy glanced at her, then turned his head away. "Buddy, please," the man pleaded, crouching beside his son. "Just a little bite, okay?" The boy shook his head stubbornly. Kenya lingered nearby, her heart twisting. "Mind if I try?" she asked gently. The man hesitated. "He won't listen. You should probably just continue with your work." But as he spoke, the boy looked up at Kenya and, unexpectedly, smiled. Kenya crouched down, her presence gentle and unassuming. "Hey there, champ. May I sit with you?" The boy nodded. She pulled a chair close, sat down opposite the father, and took a spoonful of soup. "Here comes the train. Choo-choo." The boy giggled softly and opened his mouth. The father watched in stunned silence as his son swallowed. Then came a second spoonful, then a third. Kenya smiled, chatting in a gentle, playful rhythm. Soon, the boy was on her lap, wrapped in the safety of her arms, eating and giggling between bites. The father was speechless. His name was Aaron Blake, a self-made tech millionaire who had built an empire by 30. Money had bought him everything but peace. His wife had died giving birth to their son, Mason, and though he had spared no expense, hiring top pediatricians, therapists, and nannies, nothing had worked. Until this stranger. Kenya didn't ask questions. She simply listened and responded with heart. Mason, who had barely spoken in days, was now babbling between bites about clouds and frogs and funny dreams. When the meal ended, Aaron stood and pulled Kenya aside. "Thank you. I don't even know what to say. He hasn't eaten properly in 2 days." Kenya smiled softly. "He's just lonely. I think he just needs to feel safe." Aaron looked at her closely, noticing the depth in her eyes for the first time. "Would you be willing to spend some time with him? I can pay you well. Better than here." She hesitated. "I'm studying pediatrics, full-time, and I help care for my mom. I wait tables to survive." Aaron's face changed. This wasn't just some girl struggling to get by. This was a woman with purpose. "Let me help," You can work part-time, flexible hours. I'll pay triple whatever this place gives you. Mason trusts you. That's rare. Kenya looked back at Mason, who waved at her with a soup-stained grin. Okay, she said, but only if it works for both him and me. Weeks passed. Kenya split her time between classes, home, and Aaron's estate, a mansion with more rooms than she could count. But she spent most of her time in the garden, on the floor, building Lego castles, or reading stories to Mason, who now laughed freely and asked endless questions. Aaron watched from a distance at first, but over time he began joining them. He laughed too. Slowly, something shifted. Kenya became more than just a caregiver. She became part of the rhythm of their lives. On Sundays, they cooked together. Kenya showed Mason how to make pancakes shaped like animals. Aaron watched them from the kitchen doorway, his heart thawing with every giggle. Kenya's presence brought color to the house again. Bright, chaotic, healing color. One evening, Kenya returned home to find her mother struggling to breathe. After a tense night at the emergency room, Kenya sat beside her hospital bed, exhausted. "You're doing too much," her mother rasped. "I'm doing what I have to. We'll get through this." When Aaron found out, he offered to cover the hospital bills. Kenya refused at first, proud and stubborn, but he insisted. "You've given Mason life again. Let me give some back." She accepted with quiet gratitude, her heart swelling with unspoken emotion. One stormy afternoon, Mason came down with a fever. Kenya stayed by his side all night, her textbooks spread on the floor, whispering soothing words between sips of medicine. Aaron sat silently nearby, watching her, overwhelmed. "How do you do it?" he asked. She looked up. "Do what?" "Care so much." Kenya sighed. "I guess because I've known what it's like to need someone and not have them show up. I promised myself I'd be that someone, whenever I could." Aaron reached over, brushing a stray curl from her face. The silence between them was full, of feelings growing stronger, of a bond that words couldn't define. By the third month, they were inseparable. Kenya and Aaron weren't just falling in love. They were building a life, slowly, steadily, beautifully. Mason called her Kenny now, and one night, as she read him a bedtime story, he whispered, "I love you." She kissed his forehead, her voice trembling. "I love you too, little man." Aaron heard it from the doorway. His heart clenched. He knew then. He proposed beneath the old sycamore tree in their garden. A string of fairy lights danced in the branches. Mason stood beside him, holding the velvet box. Aaron got down on one knee. "Kenya, from the moment you fed my son that first bite, my life changed. You saw him when no one else could, and you saw me too. I don't want another day without you. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. Yes. 1,000,000 times yes. Their wedding was small, intimate. Just close friends, a string quartet, and the smell of jasmine in the air. Kenya wore a soft ivory dress, her curls flowing down her back. Mason was the ring-bearer, beaming with pride. As they exchanged vows, Aaron looked into her eyes. "I once thought money could fix anything, but it was love that saved us. Your love." Kenya squeezed his hands. "And you gave me a reason to believe in happy endings." Months later, Kenya finished her degree with honors. She opened a pediatric clinic in Mason's name, funded in part by Aaron's foundation. The walls were painted with stars and clouds, filled with laughter and healing, just like the family that built it. Life wasn't perfect, There were sleepless nights, toddler tantrums, and long work days. But every day began and ended with love. And every once in a while, Kenya would remember that simple moment, a spoonful of soup, a little boy's smile, and realize that grace often comes when you least expect it, wrapped in the smallest acts of kindness.